Welcome to Penny Bradley, Nachtwaffenpilot presents, and today we're having Ian Starchild back, and he's going to be talking about energy protection, the way it's practiced in the space programs.
Yes, I just want to go ahead and just do a little bit of set a little bit of groundwork in the beginning. There are many different religions out there that have many different ways to access energy. What I'll be accessing it would be energy that some people know as Reiki. Some people call it, in the Chinese modality, call it Chai or Chi. Some people in the, Buddhist and Hindu will call it prana. There are many different ways, to access energy. And there's no one true way, no one true path. But this is how we do it. Even they even call it the Force in the movies. It's the same stuff. But this is how we do it in the SSP, or at least how I train others to do it when I have a time amongst all the other things they have me doing to do it. So I want people to know that we can access it here on Earth the same way. And I am going to go right on into it. I'm not going to be doing any ritualistic stuff. I'm not going to be doing any ceremonial stuff because it is not necessary. It's nice to know that you can burn your herbs and, use your crystals and things, but it is not necessary. All you have to do is vision it in your mind. There is no religious or magical tool that exists on this plane of creation that we cannot render within our mind's eye and it be just as valid. So I am going to use just the modalities of just the pure energy that we're swimming around. We're literally swimming in energy soup, 24 hours,
Can you
7 days
speak
a
up
week.
just a little bit?
Sure, is this better? I moved my mic.
Much.
We are literally swimming in energy soup 24/7. And we have access to all of it. You just got to get used to using the muscles that I like to call it's muscle memory, even though we're going to be using etheric type of muscles in us and doing it. So with that, and of course, every time I do this, my kitties are going to want to get involved. So you'll probably hear some meowing in the background. Sorry. I got one that wants on the lap right now. Okay, with that, I'm going to start with the first exercise because I'm hitting the ground. I mean, our boots are going on the ground and we're going to start running right away, which is usually how it does when we're in the SSP. We don't have time. We got to do what we got to do. So the first thing I want people to do is to just basically get comfortable. Sit in your seat, get comfortable. Make sure that both feet are planted on the ground. You will be pulling it from the earth or whatever planet, or even if you're on a ship, you'll be pulling it through your feet. Some people like to think that you have to be on, actual ground to do this. But if your building is attached to the ground, it'll pull it right up through the building because there's no material that's in the building that isn't natural enough to pull this energy up to you. Okay? And with that, hold your hands out, kind of up above your head, and you can feel the energy from the sky and around you. I want everybody right now to close your eyes and get calm. Slow your breathing down because this is the basic. In the middle of your stomach is the solar plexus, so kind of straighten up your posture. Breathe in deep and start feeling what's around you. You'll feel tingling usually in your feet, in your hands, and begin pulling that energy into your solar plexus area. That is, I'm not going to use terms like chakras or anything like that because it's not necessary. This is all universal. That is the center of your being. So pull it in and you'll feel it. And while you're doing that, envision a golden light washing in that area and concentrating and getting stronger. And we're not going to do anything with it just yet. After you can feel it, let it go, and it'll dissipate. But you've pulled all that energy into you, and you should be feeling a little bit refreshed, because anytime you do it, there's always a healing effect and a cascade effect. That is what I like to call the basic pull. You need to do this several times a day at random times. And as you do it, you'll feel the energy become more intense. And you'll be able to make that energy ball within the center of you stronger each and every time. Oops. Didn't mean to knock that over. And as it gets stronger, you'll be able to use it more and more of it. Most people in the beginning start off doing that, just with a little bit of energy. But with practice, that becomes stronger and more intense. And as it becomes more intense, you can use it for more intense healing, more intense defense, more intense pushing, whatever you need to do. Am I making sense, Penny?
Yeah.
So I don't want to lose anybody. If you can think of anything I need to add, feel free to interrupt. I know you don't have a problem doing that, but that is the basic pull. So we're going to do it again a couple of times more. So if people will pause this video at this point and just do about, 3 or 4 of these pulls, because it's about a 3-step process. Just pause the video and do it about 3 more times, or until you're comfortable with it. And then come back to the video. We'll go to the next step, because I don't want you to go to this next step until you are comfortable doing the pull. And you can feel the energy, you can feel the power coming up in the center of your being, and you know what to do. So I'm going to assume everybody has paused and come back at this point. Now we are going to do a push. Since we've got the pull where we can pull the energy in with us, I'm going to show you how you can push and clear out a spear of negativity or a spear of any kind of energy being or anything you don't want around you. You should have enough, after doing the exercise enough time, you should have enough ability to pull the energy into you that you can do a small push now. So let's start off again. Put your feet out. Hold your hands up where you can feel, like an antenna. And let's pull energy into your center now. And pull it harder than you did before, and pull it with intent. You need this energy. You need to get as much of it as you can for it to be, effective. We're going to do what I call a negativity push. This will help get the negativity out of your house, out of your room, and out of your space. You can do this on a city bus. You can do this in your home. You can do this anywhere. So keep pulling that energy. Pull it, pull it, pull it. Take your hands, put it on your stomach. Envision yourself now holding your hands in front of you, and there is a golden energy ball in your hand. Okay, you're holding this golden energy ball. And now, with your will and your intent, command that ball to expand. And as it expands, it is going to push everything negative away from you. As the sphere gets bigger and its skin, like a balloon or a ball, hits that negativity, imagine it sweeping it from the edge of that ball on out. And that ball will go as far as it can and dissipate, leaving that negative energy far away from you. That is a push. That is helpful when you have negative influences around you. That is helpful when you have, energy beings that you don't want around you. That is helpful when you're in a situation where people are, being negative towards you. It will often help change their, it'll get whatever that is negative that's affecting them to stop affecting you.
It's helpful for family members.
Yes, I'm about ready to say that. We all have negative friends and family. If you do this, while they're being negative to you, you might actually be surprised. Their attitudes might change for the better. But just imagine pushing that negativity. This is something you can add to your daily routine. I usually do this right before I go to bed and right when I wake up. And it is very effective. As you do these exercises, especially with the pool, you'll be able to do it just as soon as you wake up. Okay, you're being attacked by something at night. You wake up, you pull and push. You do this to the point where it becomes muscle memory. That is the big thing in SSP. We do not train to do ritual. We do not train to do anything religious. We do just the basics, which I'm stressing.
We do what we need to do because we have to be able to do it on the run.
Exactly. And if there's more than one of us together, we learn to do it, synchronous, meaning
To link up.
We synchronize, we link up, and we do it all at once. I have seen an entire ship or colony do this and stop an attack of interdimensionals.
Yes.
Because everybody does this at the same time. If you were to do this, I'm sure there are many different, religions and religious ways and ceremonial ways to do it. If you were to do it like this, you'll be dead. You have to learn to do it without all the steps involved.
You have to be able to do it in a short period of time and be effective. And effective every time, not this hit or miss stuff.
Bingo. That's why you do it often. You do it often. You do it with intent, and you keep practicing it daily because you only get better as your time goes. One of the things that I can remember when I was going through training, I don't remember who exactly it was. I'm kind of thinking it is something that James might be more familiar with. But I was
James
told once,
Bank?
yes,
Okay.
I was told in training that you train like it is real. You train hard, and yes, you can get hurt with training because when it does count in real life, you won't be dead because if you pull your punches while you're training, you'll end up dead when you need it in real life. So
Well,
you
yeah,
always train.
You have to train like it's real, or it's useless.
You have to train like it's real. And as you're doing it, you'd be surprised what little psychic cobwebs you'll knock loose in your house that don't need to be there anyways. It will scare the hell. Not that there is a hell, out of the little, psychic nasties that tend to accumulate around you. There are other things you can do with this. Okay? So I want everybody to just do a few pushes right now and pause the video. Do about 3 of the pushes and then come back to us. Okay? I'm going to count to 3 and I'm going to start again with the next. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I'm going to assume everybody has done 3 pushes. Now I'm going to teach you how to do a targeted energy healing. Okay? You could be hurt physically or you could be hurt on your astral body, and you can do this. Let's just say you drop something very heavy on your foot. This might not be the best way to relieve pain, but it does help because number one, it will take your mind off of the fact that your foot's hurt. So you got that psychological thing to do. And number 2, the energy push that you're going to do into your foot will give it a jump start on actually healing and repairing the damage. Of course, if you are physically bleeding, you always take care of that first, because energy working does not, you know, you always take care of your ABCs, because airway, breathing, and circulation, because energy work does not usually, negate the physical airway, breathing, and circulation emergency. So once those are taken care of, imagine doing your pull. So just, let's go ahead and just pull that energy ball real quick into your hands. And let's envision, let's just say that you have dropped something heavy on your foot. Okay, that golden light's nice and big and bright in your hands. That ball's ready. When you feel like you're ready to release it, imagine that ball going into your foot. And as that as that golden light goes into the foot, imagine it relieving the pain, relieving the inflammation, and helping you get back up on your foot to where you need to do something like that. That can help a lot when you have actually hurt yourself, or if you feel like something has stung you. Because sometimes when you're dealing with interdimensionals, you can be laying in your bed and suddenly feel a sting in your foot, and there's no wound, no mark, but you feel like you've been hurt. That can help that as well, and get them to let go, because sometimes they will grab hold of you trying to get your energy. When you do that, you give them a surge of something they don't want, and they will let go. What was that wheezing sound?
That was Lou listening to a video.
Oh, okay.
It was coming through his headphones.
Okay. I was like thinking, do we need to do a little healing there?
No, he was hoping to have a life of his own.
Like we all do.
Yeah.
Okay. I hope that the three techniques that I've given you help and make sense so far. Because that is some information I wanted to do right off the get-go. We're going to hit the ground running, because I've had my computer crash on me like twice today. Something did not want me to give that information out on this plane. It's information that I know is purposely erased when they send us back.
Well, mine wasn't erased, and I've been using it all along, and I'm acquainted with more than one ceremonial magician, and they've asked me to help with projects, and frankly, I get tired of waiting for them to get there through their ceremonies.
Yeah, but that's how they know to access it.
That's the only way they know to access it, and they won't listen to me about it. But I get frustrated with the magic community, because so many of them never get results and tell me that it's just philosophy anyway, where mine works.
Well,
90% of the time.
Well, people, there's religion and there is science. And if you've known me long enough, I do know my religious stuff. But I go at it more on the scientific basis. Well, it is pure science. They are discovering different modalities of energy practically every day that we're swimming in.
In Nachtwaffen, there is no religion. None. What they practice is ancestor worship, or ancestor honoring. It's not. There are no gods. There is no religion. There is no hell. So
pretty much same as in Kruger.
They teach reincarnation, but they have a tendency to capture your soul when you die and put you into a new clone. So that's their version of reincarnation. You're never actually really dead. So,
well, I will expand on those techniques in future, in future, broadcasts. But I got the hiccups today.
My
But
voice keeps coming and going, so I'm
there's
not
something that there is something that doesn't want this information out, but it needs to go.
well, I've had allergies from the trees blooming, and this is
Hmm.
this happens to me every year at this time. This is not the bug, this is just allergies. And
Hmm.
so this has been ongoing for a couple of weeks, and there are days that it's really bad, and today's one of them.
Gotcha. Well, we haven't had a chance to have our stuff bloom yet because we haven't gotten warmer than probably 50 degrees, it seems like.
We've been warm enough that the apartment manager is talking about getting the coolers working.
Well, we had a freeze the other night, a hard freeze, and the dusting of snow, and this is like middle of May. Okay. Again, like I said, anytime we do something like that, in the SSP, we do just the most basic steps because, like I said, we are literally most of the time either in battle or in a situation where we don't have the luxury to do a lot of that ceremonial stuff like you were talking about. We don't have, yes, it's nice that you can do ceremonial stuff, but I also seem to think um, that a lot of that ceremonial stuff is things that have been ingrained in us to actually hinder what we are capable of doing.
Well, I was interacting with these people. They say that it's to seduce your subconscious into cooperating with the conscious.
Hmm.
So, and I can understand that reasoning. I just know a better way.
True, true.
So, if that's
And
what you're taught and it's all you know, then that's what you do.
hmm and I hope those out there that have been taught to do it that way are able to step back and try a different way and see what they can do.
Hmm.
Because there may come a time when you might need to do this
Yeah.
and do it fast and do it quick. And you'll find how, especially the push, how wonderful it is to push negativity away from you. And then people not even realize that you did it because you can do it because when you get the muscle memory and the repetition and the practice done, you can do it in under 30 seconds. Boom, that negativity is pushed away from you and they don't even know what hit them.
Yeah, they think that, well, I'm just in a better mood now.
Hmm. Yes, because sometimes they might be negative and they might be nasty and it's really not their fault.
Yeah.
It's really not their fault. Anyways, with that aside, we got a whole host of other things that's going on we can talk about. And a lot of people have been posting pictures of medical devices, medical scanners, and beds on the groups here lately. And I just want to clarify a few things. They are mostly right about what they are posting, but I've used these. I've got very vivid memories of using them. Some of them do everything that they actually say they can do, and some of them can do some of the most horrific stuff out there that you can imagine too.
Well, it's just like healing on earth. If you're capable of healing, you're capable of poisoning. It's just a matter of degree, dosage.
Exactly. And don't think for 1 minute that that it's all bad and or it's all good. You know, I've come to terms that most of what the fleet is out there doing is neutral. You know,
Well,
in a way.
um, If it were neutral, the Galactic Authority would not be bothering them.
True, but think about it. They're following orders.
From an
Basically,
individual perspective, yes, they're following orders. From a racial perspective, we have been following orders since our creation. And from a moral perspective, we've never gotten the point that we're not supposed to.
well, we're a lot of a lot of us are just now becoming woke to where we know better.
So,
And that's where it's becoming not so neutral. A lot of us are becoming woke. I have a feeling you've been woke a long time. Some of us have been woke longer than others.
In some ways, I've never been asleep, and in other ways, because of the memory blockage, I didn't get my memories back until 2013. So,
right.
But I always knew that what I was hearing from the news and the politicians was bullshit.
Yeah, it's been bullshit now for what, 30 years or more? And, you know,
It
and a
has
lot
been,
longer before that, it's been like bullshit.
It has been bullshit since they killed Kennedy.
Mm-hmm.
We have not had an honestly elected president since him. We may not have had an honestly elected president before him. But I know for sure we haven't since him, and that was the time frame that the CIA took over the media.
True.
So we haven't had a truly informed electorate or an honest election since. So that's 60 years approximately.
And lately, if you've noticed, the choices are getting worse and worse.
Oh, the choices have always been bad.
True, but they're getting worse.
Look at Johnson versus Goldwater. Come on. That was just pretty much as bad as what we've got this time.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I think we're more awake to see how bad the choices are. If a person wants that job, that should disqualify them.
Bingo. And
if they want the job, they're not smart enough or responsible enough to do it.
Mm-hmm. But enough with politics, you know. We kind of don't want to go there. But we have enough problems in the fleets, much less that. But I do think that you know,
when you say the fleet, which faction are you discussing?
Honey, all of them. They all have their issues.
No, I mean, when you say the fleet, who are you talking about?
Fleets with an S.
I didn't hear the S.
As a matter of fact, let's just throw the term fleets. I mean, let's just boil it down to experiencers. You know, I want to do a little bit of a counseling here, a little bit too. I'm seeing a lot of nastiness and a lot of disharmony on the groups and stuff. And I am going to flat just scold everybody right now. We got to stop it. We got to stop it. We are all experiencers. We've all experienced something. Just because you've experienced one thing and I've experienced another thing does not make your experience or my experience any less valid. We have to stop the division because that is what they want. That's what they want to use against us, is the division.
Okay, I'm going to tell you one of the things that has been just annoying the hell out of me lately is there is a political group out there that is rightfully targeting pedophiles.
Yes.
And they're going about it all wrong because they are not finding proof of these people being pedophiles. They are accusing people without proof.
Hmm.
That's actually illegal. It's called slander.
Right, and
And
when you do slander like that, you're opening the door to have a lot come back. I call it blowback on
yeah,
you.
not only blowback, but it's illegal. You can go to jail for that.
Hmm.
And so when these people are being rightfully shut down by social media for
Hmm.
committing actual crimes, they think they're just being picked at. And so that's number one. And that is spreading through our community as well because that political group is overlapping with us. Now,
True.
it's not a full overlap. And a lot of people need to understand that just because we have SSP or super soldier memories, it does not mean that we are conservative or liberal because the
Hmm.
community is made up of both.
Exactly.
And
It doesn't mean
and
that the conservatives are all wrong and the liberals are all wrong either.
we have the same society split that the rest of society does.
Hmm.
And that's why my groups, politics is not allowed. Okay? Because
Exactly.
I see absolutely no reason for people with experiences to be fighting over politics that are irrelevant to our experiences. And
Exactly.
that's why I don't bring it into my podcasts, is because it's irrelevant to our experiences. But at the same time, we are a community of
Experiencers.
experiencers who
Hmm.
are living in a world that is deeply divided over politics and religion right now.
Hmm.
And what I'm seeing is this particular political group has become so vicious. In fact, one of the community leaders, and I don't know how she got into a leadership position, but one of the community leaders dug up a list from 2014 that was channeled and put it out yesterday, condemning a whole list of people, calling them child traffickers for Satanists. And this had been debunked in 2014 when it first showed up, and now she's dragging it back up to re-accuse those same people.
Hmm.
And this, pardon my cussing, but that's fucking wrong.
And you can drop that F bomb because I'm right there with you. You can't do that. And that's why I'm cautioning people right now. We have got to stop attacking one another. We are all experiencers. We should be trying to reach out and understand one another and stop all of the pettiness. Because
Well,
it's nothing but pettiness.
I think we need to police our own groups. I
Mm-hmm.
think we need to get rid of the scammers,
Mm-hmm.
the people who are lying just to get money. I
Mm-hmm.
think we need to get rid of the false accusers.
Mm-hmm.
I think we need to get rid of the people who are just sitting there stirring shit.
Which that is why I will not sell an ad or endorse a product with space portals. You know how I feel about that.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, I mean, I'll take a donation that's freely given with no strings attached, but I will not sit back and and sell ads or give the appearance we are endorsing any one person or any one group over another.
Well, I did have an episode where I have had a lot of this lately, so I'm kind of touchy, where some of us are from different factions and have
Hmm.
different experiences, and so our testimony is different down to
Exactly.
down to details as to who's real and who isn't, you know.
That's just like,
And and
that's just like, yeah,
just a minute, I'm not done.
gotcha.
This keeps being thrown in my face that I'm not real because I'm not agreeing on every detail with Randy Kramer or Jason Rice or half a dozen other people out there, including Corey Good. And most of the community feels that Corey Good has been stealing stories from real experiencers and passing them off as his own.
Mm-hmm.
And there have been lawsuits that have not been dumped because they were invalid, but because they fucked up the paperwork.
Bingo.
Okay? So, we need to police our own community and get rid of the scammers and the accusers and the people who are just stirring shit. And in the meantime, we need to stop expecting everybody's testimony to be a carbon copy of the person you already heard. Carbon copies are people who have conspired and their testimony has been coordinated.
Synchronized.
And people who have actually been there, they do have different stories. They do have different viewpoints. They do have different what they remembered.
Exactly.
That means we're telling the truth. And if you aren't mature enough to be able to hear 20 witnesses with 20 different stories and ferret out what you think to be the truth, then you don't need to be in this community.
No. And it doesn't matter. We're all going to have different memories. We've had different things done to each other. We've had different medical procedures done to each other.
Okay, we've got 6 programs out there. We've got 3 generations now. And
6 that we know of.
That we know of. And
that we know of.
They've changed the procedures with every generation.
Mm-hmm.
And so...
And then they've got means of pushing us through time on top of it all.
They've got time travel, so you've got different generations working together, and you've got things happening that one ship will have totally different information given to them than another ship in the same faction.
One ship might have different technology than another ship in the same faction.
Yeah. I have been on ships that were obsolete at the time that I was on them. I had no idea what the new ships had.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what's going on. I give an example. World War II veterans. Almost all of you are familiar with World War II. Why are you, what you're doing is you're telling us that you expect someone from D-Day and someone from Guadalcanal to tell the exact same details.
It
ain't gonna happen. Get over it.
I am so glad that we're getting this out.
I have been so angry. And the newest thing is, well, the CIA decided to give you different memories so that it would discredit you. I got told that one 3 days ago. So yeah, it's fresh and I'm mad.
Well, that might be somewhat true. I'm sure that
goes right along with Dr. Greer saying that we were all given fake memories and none of it was real.
Mm-hmm.
It's a way to discredit all of our memories and say, you guys are just mind controlled, so we don't have to listen to you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm living with these memories. I'm talking about these memories. If they're real, these things need to be stopped.
Exactly. And the thing about it is you wouldn't have so much trauma attached to them if they were fake.
I wouldn't think so. You wouldn't think so. But yet all these people out there don't want to believe that what we're saying is true. So they are going this route. Anything to not have to listen to us. And yeah, I'm
Well,
angry because
also, con-
I've been hit with 5 of these people in the last 4 days.
mhm.
And
also
I'm pissed.
consider also consider that some of it might be weaponized against us too. They might be experiencing something totally engineered to cause us to be triggered. So we can't take the bait.
Well, I'm just saying, you know, this is not an acceptable topic of conversation, because all you're doing is discrediting the entire movement,
Mhm.
not just me, because God forbid I should disagree with somebody that's on Gaia.
Mhm. I don't think that what I'm saying is an invalid topic, Annie. I feel that we need to get to the point where we can be a little more comfortable with all of our experiences, and we can work to where we start working together. Now's the time we need to start listening to each other and
Well,
stop telling people that we're wrong.
well, in my groups
Hmm.
that I want people to share what they remember.
Hmm.
And I do my best to not be dragged into telling them what it is they remember. I want
Hmm.
them to share their memories. And I'm not going to tell you what you remembered, because there are so many options. I don't know what you were in.
Hmm.
If all you remember is being in a building with glass walls and glass doors, hell, that could be anywhere,
Or anytime.
anytime, anywhere. Yeah,
Hmm. But that doesn't mean that the memory
that's
isn't valid either.
exactly. They remembered something that happened to them, and it's real.
So
And
basically, we're
I'm not going
all.
to tell them what they remembered, who they were with, nothing. I can tell them based on, what is it, 5 years now
Hmm.
of counseling other experiencers. I can tell them what the common threads are, but I can't tell you what thread you were in.
Right.
I
And
mean,
then
I can't tell
and
you what you were doing. You have to remember it for yourself.
and then, as the time goes by, another thread might pop up that weren't even, oh, none of us were aware of. I have a feeling the Russians have got stuff out there that we don't know about,
I know the Russians have stuff out there. We
which would
have,
equate to a whole nother thread, but we don't know about
the Chinese have stuff out there. The
it. Hmm.
Japanese have stuff out there. And yes, Tomas Alvin was right. They were out there. But
Hmm.
that doesn't mean that every detail that we remember was correct either, because you take a look at
Hmm.
trials. Murder trials, you can get 20 witnesses that supposedly saw the same thing, and no two of them will agree on anything.
Exactly. But,
Now,
from my experience,
some of that is from, perspective, point of view, where they were standing, what they were actually able to see.
mhm.
Others, it's because everybody filters through their own mind.
And if you had a murder trial where you had five different witnesses and they all told the one same exact homogenized story, that is not true.
Yeah. If they've all told the same homogenized story, that means that they've gotten together and agreed on it.
Or they've read the same history book.
Yeah.
Because history is always written, a history textbook is always written by the perspective of the winner and the origin of the country.
And I'll tell you, whenever you do history, there are so many facts that you have to pick what you're going to present that matches with your point of view.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, there's just too much data. So
Exactly.
everybody tells the story that they want told.
Mm-hmm.
And it all depends on their perspective. Now, if it's, what you have to do is learn to ferret out who was able to see what, And in our memories, because we have been mind wiped and stuff, you'll find colors are wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember being in the chair at Montauk, but
Mm-hmm.
I remember it as a turquoise blue. I've seen photos, I know it's an almond color, but I still remember it as a turquoise blue.
And that could be a whole, result of drugs you might have been given at the time. Because
Might have
drug,
been given. I
I'm
mean,
just being
come
facetious.
on, come on. They had us so full of drugs that they had
Mhm.
to put us through regen every week because our livers failed.
Well, I'm being a little facetious there.
I'm being honest
Mhm.
because a lot of people, this is going to be their introduction to the topic when they
Mhm.
first find this video. I'm being honest. We were drugged. We were mind controlled. We were mind fractured. One alter what one alter remembers, another one has no clue it even happened.
Right. And I
And
was fortunate. I have no memories of that chair. I
and
don't think I ever
my
was
gen
put.
my generation, we have 2,200 alters. That was standard.
Mhm.
I've reintegrated 30 of them. What do the other 2,100 plus remember?
Mhm.
You know, I'm looking at the tip of an iceberg. There's a
Mhm.
huge mountain of stuff I don't remember yet. Some of it may make the rest make sense. I mean, I have reintegrated 30 of them, and as I've done that, the memories come with the alters, and they've made subtle changes in how I saw things. Because at first, I was freaking out because Earth Penny Here and Now had bought into the American propaganda that Germans were evil. And so when I
Mhm.
first started talking, that's what was coming out. And now I've remembered other alters that also worked with the Germans, and I have more of a
Mhm.
understanding of their culture out there. And I don't believe that they're any more evil than anybody else.
After World War II, their culture totally changed.
Uh, yeah, their culture.
Not all of their leaders were evil. Not all of their leaders bought into the Third Reich. There were
Well,
good people in the
on
German.
on Earth, the
Mhm.
Germans have not hurt anybody for 70 years.
No, if anything, they've gone out of their way to help people.
Exactly. And so there's a book that came out in March that is basically calling for their genocide. And that thing is the most hateful piece of trash I've ever had the misfortune of reading.
Mhm.
And no, I'm not going to say who it was because he's got enough advertising out there. But that's what
Bingo.
I had asked him to take me out of his book, and he did not. But when I read The Galley, I threw up. It was that hateful.
Mhm.
And
Well,
I listen to what I do, read what the rest of the community writes. I do listen to interviews that my peers put out. And I know that I have a different opinion of the Germans in space and a different opinion of the Draco than
mhm.
most.
Yeah, and my opinion of the Dracos kind of in line with yours. You know, I'm more worried about some of the cuter, things that are more acceptable than I am the Draco because true
Well,
predators are attractive.
well, my thing is every race, both on Earth and
Hmm.
in space, has an agenda. And if you don't know what that is, don't make any agreements with them.
Bingo.
Period. Any of
Hmm.
them. If you don't know who they are, what they want from you, why are you making agreements with them? Why are
Mm-hmm.
you inviting them into our house?
Bingo.
You know, in the
And when people start coming into the groups and asking questions, what do I always give as my universal advice? Careful what you ask for, because once that door is open, you can't close it.
no, you can't. Once you've invited them in, they're in, and it might take an interstellar war to get rid of them.
Mm-hmm.
And we have all these people doing CE5, inviting in total strangers. We have the government has made 70 treaties with ETs,
Mm-hmm.
and
Only 70?
70 that I know of. There are 120 races that are allowed to be on Earth that have permission.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, the Earth Defense
Mm-hmm.
Force, now called Space Force,
Mm-hmm.
has been policing it and only letting those in. So hopefully the CE5 people are only inviting in people that are already allowed to be here.
True.
So,
Hopefully.
but I try talking to these people, and it's like,
They were having a party two doors down the other night after watching that Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind movie. They're out there shining lasers, green lasers up into the sky. And I mean, you know, you and I both know that what that's going to attract, and it's just going to be usually the ones that want to come screw with them anyways. But
well, I'm looking at it multi-layered.
mm-hmm.
Okay, we are in a galactic protectorate because humans are considered to be a child race and
Mm-hmm.
irresponsible. And the only way they are allowed in is if we invite them. So we're looking at a bunch of irresponsible children inviting in the neighbors
Mm-hmm.
who may or may not be good people.
Mm-hmm.
This, on Earth level, this is how you get pedophiles in your home.
Mm-hmm. Or people who want to cut you up and eat you, or
Yeah. The US government classes a race as benevolent if it doesn't want to eat you. Now, I know that's not the standard New Age definition of benevolent, but that is the legal definition of benevolent. They don't want to eat you. Think about that next time you want to invite somebody in.
mm-hmm.
Now, yes, there are some wonderful races out there who would be perfectly great trading partners, but Joe Blow having a CE5 party doesn't know who they are.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I am aware that the Ponti, who are one of several races from the Zeta system,
Mm-hmm.
is trying to set up first official contact. And they have 32 star nations who are wanting to be involved in that.
Mm-hmm.
And they're filtering the nice ones. So
Mm-hmm.
I have no issue with that. I have an issue with totally ignorant people inviting in whatever answers their call.
Right.
Because we haven't been destroyed because we're a galactic protectorate, not because they're nice.
But there is evidence that there's been civilizations here on Earth that have been destroyed in the past.
Oh yeah, there have
because
been
they
more than one galactic war that decided to hit Earth.
mm-hmm.
And there's been more than one time that the Galactic Authority has pushed us back
Mm-hmm.
because we went into space and we were doing exactly the same thing we're doing now. We're going out, we're militarily taking over worlds and stripping them of resources, and enslaving the people that were on those. And what we're currently doing is we're turning them into cyborgs and selling them to other races. They're not just enslaved for their own lifetime, they're enslaved for the lifetime of the machine.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we're doing. And it's hundreds of thousands of cyborgs a day.
And human arrogance, we don't think of, ourselves as, we think of ourselves as being superior when we run into a lesser life form.
We think of ourselves as superior when we interact with a superior life form. Come on.
Well, we do tend to be arrogant.
We're arrogant, we're aggressive, we're violent. We're not telepathic, so most of these races, well, I should rephrase that. Most humans are more telepathic than they think they are. They're just ignoring the voice in their head.
They're conditioned to not be.
They're conditioned to not believe it. So they're hearing the ET talk to them. They're just not accepting that's what they're hearing. They think it's their imagination.
And the sad part is we've encountered races that were weaker and lesser than us, physically, but telepathically are more advanced than us. And we eat them. We eat them. Oh, wow. This is a tasty little thing. It looks like a lamb. Let's eat it. And the thing's more intelligent than we are. It's just they've grown past the need for machines and technology.
Example, the spiders on Mars.
Don't get me started on those nightmares.
We hunt each other. They eat us, we eat them. There have been plenty of times that I was out with a crew doing ghoul duty, which is finding human remains to take them back to be regenerated. And we would stop for the night and decide to hunt a spider and cook it for dinner. They taste like crab. So this is they hunt us. I've been dinner for more than one and then regenerated.
It's almost a game.
And they are extremely telepathic, and they're kept as pets by the Mars mantids. The Mars mantids coordinate with the spiders the way that human shepherds will use whistle signals to train their dog to herd sheep. Same kind of relationship. And so, of course, the mantids are going to be mad because we're eating their dogs.
Yes, but the mantids eat both of us.
I've not found that, not the ones on Mars. But most of the species on Mars are predatory. There are some that are mostly herbivores, but Mars has so little
vegetation that there's
so
they have to be carnivore.
They have to, and it's who survived a disaster. It's not a real ecology. So it's mostly insects, mostly insects, reptiles, and burrowing birds and mammals. Because
not all birds fly.
No, not all birds fly, and there is one that's mostly burrowing, but they come out at sunset, and they're black, and their wing spread is about 12 inches, and they come out in masses at sunset. And so you've got these black birds against a lavender sky, and it's really impressive. They're not out for long, but it's just really impressive. It's one of the prettier things. I grew up on Mars before I grew up on Earth. And so to me, Mars is home. And a lot of people don't understand that. I grew up on Mars with the Germans.
Mm-hmm.
And so the more I remember, the more German I feel, even though biologically I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and when I took German in high school and junior college, when I got through my fifth year of taking German in junior college, my professor said, "You speak it well enough, you could go to Germany and you could get by. They would laugh at you because you don't understand connotations, but they would help you because you're American and you're making the effort to speak their language."
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "But don't tell anybody that you learned from me, because I have no idea how you got a Schwabian accent from me." He was from Berlin. And I know now why I had a Schwabian accent. It's because that's what they spoke on Mars, was a
Mm-hmm.
Schwabish dialect. But, you have weirdnesses all along, even when you don't remember.
Right.
And
Some of us, like I said, getting back to the energy exercises I did in the beginning, it's muscle memory.
mhm.
We all we all are, like I said, getting back to where I'm going with on that and what I'm seeing in the groups. Just from what we're talking today, it's obvious we've both experienced things from different, perspectives and pathways. But we have enough common that once we start talking, if that we can put and piece things together. We all have to start listening to one another and assimilating our experiences and valuing the differences in it, and stop looking at what these people are writing and spoon feeding us, especially the new people out there. They're being spoon fed things from, I'm just going to pick on him because he's the one that everybody picks on. They're being spoon fed things by Corey Good. They're being spoon fed things by, the MUFON people. They're being spoon fed things by the mass media. We got to stop, taking everything for granted from all these big high profile people that are selling books. We have to start listening to one another, because the truth is going to lie somewhere in between each
Well,
other.
I think what we need to do is start listening to the people who were there and
Right.
stop listening to the researchers. The researchers are a good foundation.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was trying to figure out what I was remembering, because what I was remembering was in German, I did do a lot of research. And that has made me unacceptable to researchers, and it's made me unacceptable to sites like Gaia and to MUFON, because I don't have pure my memories. I have my memories filtered through research.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I have memories of seeing vast deserts
Right.
with
The purple sky and the blackbirds.
the purple sky and the blackbirds, deserts with short green grass and green reptilians and an occasional mantid in whatever color they were that week,
Mm-hmm.
because they can change colors. And
Playfully.
huh?
Playfully.
Oh yeah, they can change from tans to dark browns to greens, and they can change it almost at will. So they're not changing their body shape, but they're changing the color that they present.
Mm-hmm.
So they can do that. And so you're not just looking for a specific color for a mantid, you're looking for a body shape. And because they can change colors, they can fade into the background where you don't see them until they move.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to
Or
have
they could
you
or
have
they
to have
could pop right out at you to where you can't help but to notice them.
yeah, you have to have movement awareness. Well, that's how prey animals operate, is movement awareness.
Mhm.
And so you're like, okay, you have to have the movement awareness, but you still have to be operating as you're hunting them. So you
Mhm.
have to have this dichotomy in your mind, this dualism of both prey and predator.
Mhm.
And then you come back to base and you're just one of the guys. And except I was
Almost
an
like
officer. So officers are not allowed to fraternize with enlisted, and that has caused me more trouble on ships because the people I really liked and wanted to be friends with were enlisted
because they're the real people.
because they're people I know on Earth. Um, and then some of the officers, especially in Nachtwaffen, they have a standard of behavior, and that behavior is not natural to me.
Mhm.
And so I have a lot of trouble functioning.
Well, being medical, that most of the trips that I've taken or the tours I've taken has helped because that lets me talk to everybody.
Yeah. Well,
But
I
even with
I
that, there's
remember
lines.
I remember in one altar that I pulled you out of a ship, a hospital ship, just before it was exploded, and you were pissed as hell until you looked through the window at your ship being destroyed. And then you went chalky white and you didn't argue with me
Well,
anymore.
damn it, that was my first command, and I fucked it up.
Well, that's what war does, is sometimes you lose.
Mhm.
Now, the point is to not lose everything.
Mhm.
So, anyway,
But no, the thing is we all have got to start. Let's just put it out there and let's just hope that people take heed of my words. We all have to start listening to one another and stop all this trying to correct each other and trying to, say, well, Gaia said this, or let's when you start doing that, you're closing your mind. And a mind that is just like a parachute. Once it's closed up, you're going to fall. You got to keep that mind open. That's the only way we're going to move forward.
well, I've just kind of reached the point where I speak what I remember. If it's something that was somebody else's work that I'm talking about, I will say it's from a researcher, or I will say which person out there said it.
Hmm.
And I don't take credit for stories that aren't mine.
But
And
occasionally we do share enough of the same experience that it will sound like you are paraphrasing someone else's story. And that doesn't mean that you're stealing their work either, Penny. That does
no,
happen.
but I make an effort because I've been counseling people for almost 5 years now. I make an effort to not tell any of their stories.
Right. And you shouldn't, because if you're truly counseling, there is the practitioner slash patient confidentiality
There,
agreement there.
there have been times I have said, well, someone shared this with me, but I've not identified
Identify them. Hmm.
I've not identified them, and I've not claimed it as my own. Um, but there's so much variety of experience because we've been in different factions and on different worlds and gone through different things. And I know there is a group out there that is claiming that they beat the Germans and they have all these German defectors. But when you tie them down, they admit that they captured a couple of ships
Mm-hmm.
And
But
that
a couple of
they,
chips does not make a defeat.
a couple of ships, and they killed those people to remove the black goo and chips, and then put them through their version of regen
Mm-hmm.
and put them through mind control to have them join them. That is not a defection.
Mm-hmm. That's conversion, and that is very unethical.
That is no more a free will option than serving with the German in the first place.
Or being converted into a cyborg.
Exactly. That's not a free will thing. And that just because they lost a battle or two does not mean that the Germans have lost the war. The Germans are coming back to the solar system because they were slapped up the side of the head by a superior force who has ordered them back to the solar system. That's not any human faction. It is the government of the galaxy has slapped them up the side of the head. That's not the Alliance. That's not anybody else that's human.
No.
This is a galactic government. They, in English, they're the Galactic Authority,
They're the big
and
boys.
they are not nice guys.
Mm-hmm.
They have abilities that are beyond what any human can conceive of as God, but they are still physical 3D beings, and they are imposing their will to send all humanity back to the solar system. And
And I
there's
don't think people realize just how many Nachtwaffen colonies, and with all the time dilation that goes on with going out into space, I don't think they realize how many of them are out there.
there are over 1,000 colonies with over 1 billion people each. So you're
Planet,
looking at a
planets.
minimum of 1 trillion Germans coming back to the solar system before any of the other factions are. So all of the good places are going to be German.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just the way it's going to be. It will be the Germans, and then what the Germans call bankers in space, and then it will be the 2 mercenary companies, and then it will be all of the little national groups. The Germans,
Mm-hmm.
the Russians, the Americans, all of those guys. Um, every country that has nuclear weapons has a space program,
Right.
whether they admit it or not. And every nation that has nuclear weapons is part of the United Nations group. That's why so many of the little countries are trying to get nuclear weapons, is to be included in that. So, you know, there are reasons for some of the weird behavior that you see people doing that doesn't appear to make sense.
Right.
There, when you know the real reasons, it's like, aha, they weren't so dumb after all.
Uh-huh. And
So,
I do hope that this podcast somehow reaches people and just gets people to just shake them up a little bit and start thinking, let's stop some of this nastiness.
um, I've been in this community for 5 years. And every so often, they go through and have, for lack of a better term, it's an ego pissing contest.
Mm-hmm.
And this is probably round 4 that I've gone through. And I'm tired of it. And I pulled back from the big group because the founder was doing a pissing contest. And
Right.
I got tired of what he was pulling on me and blocked him and left his group. And
Mm-hmm.
I do have a group of my own, and it's about 300 people, and I'm I'm impressed, honored, thrilled, because we have such a high proportion of really, really cool people.
Right.
And I'm
And the thing,
basically,
and I'm a member of that
bas-
group too, and they
I'm
are very sincere people. Their sincerity is what
I'm
touches.
basically ignoring everything else. Um, I'm watching videos that the members make. I'm watching some of the videos that everybody else puts in my face.
Yeah.
Um, I know the guys that speak on Gaia
Hmm.
refuse to watch anything else because it would contaminate their testimony.
Well, not only that, it also contaminates their money stream.
Yeah, well, that's why they don't want to. Well, I'm not going to name names or point fingers, but it's like, you know, how do you know who's valid? How do you know who's shared the same thing that you have? Uh,
Hmm.
how do you get those questions that make you think and bring up memories? Um, one of the reasons that I figured out who had clones and who had real bodies, and that it was based on their medical technologies, was because Tony kept asking the question about why is it a 20 and back, and he was the one that pointed out that it had to be a clone because of the way he was sent back. And I've been really thinking
Hmm.
about that one. And then I had a Kruger altar killed in battle, and so that altar was back with me, and then she was back in another clone. But because she had been with me, I was having almost constant bleed over with her.
Hmm.
And time was different for her than it was for me. It was going
Hmm.
a lot faster for her than it was me.
Hmm.
And so I know that she was killed twice and brought back. And then the third time she was killed, it was because her time was up. And she just stayed with me after that. And when she reintegrated into me was when the CIA broke my shoulder and told me not to do that again.
Hmm.
So I'm saying, I have ongoing contact with these people. I know what's going on in my altars because I'm having bleedovers. And these are altars that I have not yet reintegrated. So,
Hmm.
that it was like remembering one formed a cascade that,
Exactly. When I
that
actually, may I speak on when I did a little working with you? It was like your altars were purposefully just stirred up, and not, they just weren't, they were angry at each other and everything, and it was designed that way to kind of keep them from being easy to reintegrate. It was horrible. I tried to give them a little bit of peace.
well, mine were everybody wanted to be boss and nobody wanted to be in a matrix.
Hmm.
And my higher self, and yes, I do have one, and no, I'm not going to talk about her, but she informed me that Penny, here and now, Earth Penny, the one that's
Hmm.
raised kids and gone to college and all this shit, that she was the only one that had an ethical compass, and so she had to stay dominant. And that has been the biggest problem reintegrating, is because some of these are very dominant personalities.
Yes, they're very highly, and I think it was designed that way to do what you need to do on your missions. Just like I am coming to terms with, some of my altars have been weaponized. Some of my altars literally are weapons. Some of
Mm,
my, like I exist in one. I don't know what faction it is, but I exist in one ship as being nothing more than 20 heads in the front of the bow that have been networked together, that when they come online, they emit a psychic pulse that can knock out another ship. And I'm talking literally without firing an energy weapon or anything to damage the ship, totally eradicate all organic life within that ship.
hmm
And then they're able to go on the ship, get the intelligence, the computer files, or even just take the ship, period.
Well, most people that I counsel inform me right at the beginning that they don't have altars, that doesn't apply to them. And usually a year or two down the road, they'll admit they have them. And so when they tell me I don't have altars, I don't argue with them.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them I've already seen their altars. One person was really adamant and nasty about it, and she had videos out. And one of them, she changed altars during the video. And I pointed that out to her, and so she took it offline. It
Mm-hmm.
was obvious as hell. Anybody that knows about altars would watch and go, oh shit. But yeah,
Yeah. And just
she
like,
still
I'm finding,
maintains she still maintains she doesn't have altars, and I'm like, mm-hmm.
well, just like we have our, and I'm not going to name names, but, our peeping Tom,
Mm.
you know, I've, I've, I've smacked him on the nose a couple of times here lately myself because he's dipped his, finger in the Kool-Aid without asking me what the flavor was.
People in this community need to learn that they may have psi abilities and they may be allowed to use them without restriction while they're in the SSP in a military setting. But once they are back on Earth in a civilian setting, that they
Mm-hmm.
need to honor free will. If you
Right.
don't have someone's free will agreement, then you're committing a crime against that person.
I've had people try to psychic, since my first interview, I've had people try to psychic contact me. They don't mean any harm. They're just asking for help. And I totally feel them. I feel their pain and I feel their frustration. But always get consent first.
I'm shielding. I
You
don't
know,
I don't feel most of them because I've got 3 layers of mirror shielding and I've got
Mhm.
a tornado around that. So
Well, I
if
don't want to shield out so
I
hard
I,
that
shi- I
that I
shield
can't see what's going on around me.
I shield out because I have had so many attacks for so long that I just don't want to deal with it. If you're someone I'm working with, you
Mhm.
will have a door.
But don't
And it will
mistake.
be just your door. And if you fuck me over, it will be sealed shut.
Just don't think that because I've got my door there that you can knock on it, and I'm always going to answer. And if you try to push your way through my door, don't think that I won't be able to defend myself.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
I got tired of having to fight all the time, so I put up the shielding.
I don't want to do that this harsh just right now
I
because
had to. I had to.
I
People
do have a
people were
lot that I do work with.
people were driving me crazy. They would watch a video and make a side connection with me through my eyes in the video, and then I was having to deal with the psychic community on Earth calls it cords and hooks.
Mm-hmm.
And those hooks are painful as hell. And
Now I've
I,
got my shield set to bounce those off.
so I just, I don't put up with it. I don't want to be read. I don't read others.
Mm-hmm.
If, I've had people contact me on Facebook, oh, you have such a pretty aura. And I'm like, you shouldn't be reading me.
Mm-hmm. And
Yeah, I know most people do that as a way to figure out if someone's genuine or not,
mm-hmm.
but you don't have to
and
embed
I think that
hooks in
that's what it all
somebody.
boils. I think that that's what it all boils down to. Is they're trying to test my genuinity, but
They don't realize how draining that is. It's not so bad when it's one
mhm.
person, but when it's everybody that's seen the video, and I have videos with James Rink that have almost 70,000 views.
Well, my last video didn't have a lot of views, and it wasn't a lot of people. And and I truly do want to help people when I can. But please contact me through the Space Portals website. I've got an email address on the site now that you can contact me by email. I will do what I can for anybody whenever I can. But you got to do it on, you have to make that, shall we say,
The polite approach.
the polite approach first. Tell me who you are, and don't beat around the bush and ask me, can I ask you a question? Because you just did. Just ask your question. Because there's nothing that annoys me more than anything. And I think that you probably remember from some of our times on missions we've been on, is when you come up and ask the doc, can I ask you a question? Does that ever end with a polite response?
Nope.
No, just ask your question.
You're
Don't
wasting.
waste my
What it
time.
is they want to establish an emotional connection before they open their mouths. That's what
Mhm.
they're trying to do, and they
Docs don't work that way.
don't realize how annoying that is.
Doc don't work that way. Just ask your question. So just, feel free. If you have questions, ask. That's how we learn. And another thing that pisses me off, I, I, I think I'm going to, ask a question that you might think is stupid. Now, let me tell you something. If you don't know the answer, the question is not stupid. And if somebody makes you feel stupid because you asked a question, then they're not the person you need to be asking in the beginning, in the first place.
I have issues with the ones that they contact me in Messenger on Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
and they will beat around the bush for days.
Mm-hmm.
And then they will make some confrontational thing. Well, how do you know that you aren't just remembering for what the CIA planted? And then I tell them, well, you don't want to believe me, so I'm stopping wasting my time and yours.
Mm-hmm.
Goodbye. And then they panic.
Yeah, you're the weakest link. Goodbye.
So, it's like, I'm sorry, this is turning into a bitch session.
No, it's valid. I mean, it's
I
valid.
stopped doing new counseling when they broke my shoulder because I was in too much pain
Mm-hmm.
to listen to everybody else whine.
Mm-hmm.
And not all of them were whining, but it felt like they were whining, because I was hurting. And I didn't have patience, and I couldn't deal with it. Well, I've had surgery and I've had physical therapy, and I still hurt almost like I did when it first happened. And too many people have sent me Reiki with with orders attached to it to do
Mm-hmm.
things that I didn't want. And so I have blocked almost all Reiki.
Mm-hmm.
I've blocked almost all energy work on me because Oh, hell. One person tried to change my blood type.
Oh, that is just, you know, do people
Almost,
realize,
almost killed me.
that is another form of rape?
Apparently not.
Healing somebody or sending somebody without their permission is a violation. And people don't realize that. You know,
It's
yes,
just
your
like
intentions are good.
prayer for somebody without their permission is black magic. Christians don't understand that, and New Agers don't understand that sending Reiki without permission is also black magic.
Mhm. Prayer without, you know, prayer, depending on how you pray, can be a curse.
Very easily.
Hmm.
I've t- there have been people that have asked to pray for me, and I've told them please don't.
No, I
And
mean,
it's but please don't. You know,
when you pray for
I've
when you
had
pray
too
for
many
when you
of
pray
those
for
those
somebody's
curse.
deliverance, that is like a curse.
I have had too many of those curse prayers, and I just no, please don't. And I've got followers on my YouTube who already think that I'm demon possessed, and I would just as soon that they not do a damn thing on my behalf.
Well, honey, I'm going to tell people straight up right now. No demon wants you. They don't want you. You're too much trouble. They don't want you. I promise you. There's no demon out there that wants you. You know, so if they think you're demon
I, I
possessed, they need to get that out of their head. They don't
I've
want
been
you.
dead 5 times, and neither heaven nor hell wants me. So I'm still here.
They don't have room.
They just, I'm still here.
They're afraid you'll take it over.
I have heard that one more than once from both sides. They're afraid I'll take over.
No,
So
you're where you need to be. Unfortunately, it might not seem that way, but we're all where we need to be at the moment we're at.
I'm just tired of hurting. That's all.
You know,
If I was not in constant pain, I would not have a problem with being here.
but the pain, you know, I'm in pain too. You know, I deal with it every day. But I
Yeah,
look at
I
it this
know.
way: there are
My
lessons that we learn from our pain too.
my higher self says, "Well, that's proof you're still alive."
Hmm.
I'm
It's
like, right. Let
yeah,
you feel it for a while.
yeah. And my cousin, who's a Marine, said pain's weakness that's leaving your body, and I'm like, oh, really? Then I wish it would just get the fuck out, you know,
Yeah.
all at once, you know.
But yeah, it's just
Well,
you
I
know,
don't.
I do have a couple of people that I'm still counseling from before, but
Mhm.
I've stopped taking new ones. And when I go back to doing it, I'm going to charge because people took advantage of me.
Mhm.
And a couple of the people that I worked with tried to become um, handlers,
Mhm.
and that didn't go well.
Mhm.
And I'm not I'm not going to compromise what I'm doing because somebody else decided to control me.
Mhm.
Um, I did.
There is nothing, and I think that is one thing that I think it all boils down to is what we're trying to get at. You know, there's nothing more precious than our free will. And that includes on what we think, what we express, and we have to respect the free will of each other and listen to them and learn from them because that's when we truly expand.
Now there was a set of 12 podcasts that I did with a man from Russia,
Hmm.
Alexander Cherkasov,
And
and
I was too poor to listen to them.
he put them on his Patreon, and he's charging for them. But we have an understanding that at the anniversary date that I can put them on my channel and let them be free. And so he got them for a year. And I have copies of the videos. And so in November they go up. So my agreement with him was that he would have them for a limited time, for a year, and that after that they would be made available. And he wanted me to go much more in depth than I have gone in my prior public videos. And we got some rather interesting information out, and some of it he didn't personally like and would argue with me.
Oh, I do want to
He
also,
didn't want it to be true.
I do also want to point out to people that we will soon have everything up on Space Portals in true podcast, which is audio only format, through iTunes, through Feedburner, and all the major podcast sites.
Okay.
So we will soon have that capability. I've been trying to work the bugs out on it, but when I do finally get it all worked out, it'll be a big improvement in getting things distributed. Because a lot of people don't necessarily always watch the video, but they do listen, and you can listen to that in your internet-enabled cars or on your cell phones while you work.
Mm-hmm. Well,
And
podcasts, well, the audio versions are a lot easier to work with. When I do an audio version for my channel, I have to go through and find pictures for the few people that do actually watch them.
mhm.
And for
And I do want to
for you,
apologize if I triggered you a little bit during this interview, because I'm just trying to prove a point that we need to all learn when to push and when to back off, and to actually start listening to each other. That is the key.
well, it
Last thing I
triggered
want to
me
do.
because I'm considered a grassroots leader, and I've been taking a lot of heat since March, so 2 months worth now.
And a lot of it is, I think, that the people with this COVID are stuck at home and they're starting to poke and ask questions, and
The
it just,
people that are stuck home with COVID,
and they're looking in
are
places.
there are two different mindsets.
Mhm.
One is the mindset of, yes, we are going to save lives. The other is the mindset, I'm being inconvenienced.
Mhm.
And depending on which mindset they are, how they're
Mhm.
approaching it. And the ones that are mostly, I'm being inconvenienced, are becoming aggressive as hell and
Right.
nasty. And I have taken the position that my doctor told me that I have a target on me from the bug, and that I am to stay home.
Right.
And if I go out, I am to wear a mask and gloves. Now,
That's pretty much me too.
I'm following my doctor's orders
But
regarding me, and I have not told anyone else what to do.
but I'm going to tell you something straight up. There are interdimensionals and ETs out there that are eating all this negativity up. They feed on it. We are providing them a 7-course buffet of bad energy right now, and we got to also be aware of that. What I
Well, the people that think they're just being inconvenienced and don't believe there actually is a bug, they won't care.
Mhm.
That's
But
the
we're
honest truth. They don't care about anything else other than themselves.
mhm.
Themselves, their freedoms, their rights, their this, their that, their the other. And there are enough of them that they are getting ready to have a revolt. And that's the
Mhm.
honest truth.
But
And people need to be aware of their anger, because they are going to express it, and it is going to go out there. And if you don't want to deal with it, you're going to have to unfriend all those people.
mhm. I've been muting a lot of people lately. But where I'm getting back into the SSP aspect of it is because people have all this free time. They're going to Gaia, they're going to all these places, and they're also getting bad information from them, or not
Well,
always the best information from them.
I'll put it this way: Gaia is a New Age site. So everything on their site is filtered through the New Age religion.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there are some of the speakers on their site who are Gnostics. There are some who are alchemists,
Mm-hmm.
but
Some of them
everything,
just blatantly worship Anunnaki.
yeah, some of them blatant. Well, the Anunnaki are all the sky gods on Earth, so almost all faiths worship the Anunnaki,
Mm-hmm.
and they just aren't aware of it. So, we're looking at, basically, Gaia is a New Age religious site. So you need to understand they're not going to put out anything that isn't New Age or positive. And that's part of their issue with me, is that I served with the Germans. And they have been forever saying that the Germans and the Draco are evil. And I'm saying they're not. They're not any more evil than anybody else.
And I'm saying get to know the people that have served and experienced with them, and then make up your own free mind.
Mm-hmm.
Make up your own free mind. Don't let any of us, and I'm not, and I'm that includes me, that includes you. Don't let any of us tell you what to believe until you start believing and living your own truth. You're truly not experiencing it. Just go on for the ride. Are you going to run into unicorns and fluff bunnies all the time? No, there are some nasty people and nasty ETs and nasty interdimensionals out there. But learn every time you encounter something, learn from it. Strive to grow. Don't close your mind up to where you're not going to experience things. And like I said, as soon as somebody shares an experience with you, don't immediately pull the bullshit card. Listen to them and learn, because they might just be telling you something that you haven't experienced yet that might come knocking on your door that night.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm going to close with, unless you have any other words of wisdom.
No, I think that's pretty good.
Because we all are in different, we all see things differently. And as far as the COVID goes, do what you have to do to protect you. Some of us need more protection than others.